All right. I'd like to call the Tuesday, October 5th meeting
Recording
of
in progress.
the St. Joseph County Board of Commissioners to order. Please stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Awesome. First item on the agenda is opening and reading.
Andy, this
Mr.
is Jamie Woods. Before we begin,
Yes, sir.
there's an item on your agenda under old business towards the end of the meeting dealing with the Ducombe Community Corrections, requesting approval of equipment lease with U.S. Bancorp. I spoke yesterday with Deputy Auditor John Murphy and Randy Squadroni, who I see by his name up there is on the meeting today. I did receive the proposed, I'll call loan draft documents and requirements late yesterday afternoon. I'm reviewing those. I would encourage the commissioners to table this agenda item so we have time to review the documents and work with the auditor and representatives from Ducombe Center. So I don't want to waste anybody's time. I think that's an item that's going to need to be tabled today, and I wanted to be sensitive to Mr. Squadroni's times and others that might be in attendance on that item.
Awesome. And I'm assuming no formal action will need to be taken because it is in old business, so we would need to remove it from the table. So I'm assuming it's just going to stay there.
That is correct. So it's going to stay on as old business for today on the table, and then we'll bring that back at a later date.
Very good. Thank you.
Do we have to wait?
Nope, there's nothing to do. I was just trying to be sensitive to individuals' times that may have shown up to address this agenda item.
Old business now?
Yep. Nope, there's nothing to do.
Okay, all right.
Also
Thank
moving.
you.
All right. First item is opening reading of bids. It appears there are none. We'll move to reports and requests from the Board of Commissioners. First item is the accounts payable docket. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. So, Counselor, do we need to, since I'm on remotely?
We need to have roll call votes this morning, so after motions and seconds, I will pay attention and make sure that we call roll call votes. So I was looking ahead in the agenda a bit, so I apologize for that. There was a motion and second as to the accounts payable docket, is that correct?
Correct.
I'll have a roll call vote this time. Commissioner Dieter, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Fleming, how do you vote?
We're on the resolution for the regarding.
We're on the accounts payable docket. Aye.
Aye.
Commissioner Castelny, how do you vote?
Aye.
The accounts payable docket is approved by a vote of 3-0.
All right. Moving on to appointment of interim director of Portage Manor. I know we were reached out to by some of the board members of Portage Manor asking that Mike Eby be placed as interim director of Portage Manor. Are there any questions or comments from the board? I think I see Patty on the call. I don't know if that is Patty Godsey from the board or not, but anyway, are there any questions or comments?
Yes, Commissioner, it is me.
So anything you'd like to add, Ms. Godsey? And if so, please state your name and address for the record.
Patty Godsey, President of the Board of Portage Manor, located on Portage Avenue. Mr. Eby became recommended to us not only, well, he's also worked for us, but from Pete Augustino, Robin Chandler herself, and Kim Kirkowitz as a person that would be good as our interim director for now. And so we would like to have that done and make it retroactive, please.
Awesome. Any questions or comments from the board? Is there a motion?
There's a motion to have the appointment of interim director of Portage Manor with the Mike Eby.
Second.
We have a motion and second. Sorry, Commissioner Castelny.
Nope, it's all you.
Mr. Dieter, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Fleming, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Castelny, how do you vote?
Aye.
The appointment is approved unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you, Patty. Moving on to Resolution R26C2021, a resolution regarding redistricting. Mr. Woods.
Thank you, Commissioner Castelli. As the Commissioners are aware, at an open meeting of the Board of Commissioners, the Commissioners previously have engaged the law firm of Kroger, Gardis, and Regas of Indianapolis, Indiana, to assist having a fair and effective redistricting that will be representative of all citizens. With us this morning is Mr. Ted Nolting from the Kroger firm that will address us here momentarily. I just want to say that the Kroger firm has over 30 years, 3 decades of experience in representing units of government in making sure that they do have fair and effective representation for all citizens through the redistricting process. So we're fortunate to have them engaged in this project. I'm going to give a brief overview of what you can expect here. So today you're just going to have for consideration the resolution to establish the redistricting process. This is going to culminate through a procedure that will end on November 16th, where there will be the second adoption of a resolution regarding redistricting. So the redistricting process is going to be very deliberate here in St. Joseph County. There's going to be a public hearing on November 9th and then a first vote on the resolution. And then there will be a second vote on the resolution regarding redistricting on November 16th. Through this process, and I'm going to allow Mr. Nolte to explain it, there will be the opportunity for citizens to have involvement by submission of public access. We have public access plans that he's going to address and talk about the process for submitting those and what this process is formally going to look like. So at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Nolting from the Kroger, Gardis, and Regas firm.
Thank you, Counselor. Ted Nolting, Kroger, Gardis, and Regas. Appreciate the opportunity to be here today.
Can you speak closer? There you go.
Yeah, thank you. So in front of you, you have the resolution, which has 2 purposes. Number 1 is to adopt redistricting guidelines, and number 2 is to appoint redistricting coordinator. Now, the guidelines that they have attached, the purpose of these is, number 1, to facilitate free and open participation in this process by the public. This is done in a couple ways. Number 1, the public has access to the same data that the commissioners do. We've provided packets in the commissioner's office that the public may access. And in these packets, we have maps. We have a copy of the statutory requirements for submitting plans. And each member of the public is encouraged to pick up a packet if they would like and submit their own plans to the commissioners to be considered. Deadlines for these packets will be October 29th at noon. Now, as you're aware, the statute requires in the first year after a census for the commissioners to redistrict. And this means that you establish 3 separate commissioner districts with 3 basic statutory requirements. And it is, number 1, that the districts be reasonably compact. The legislature doesn't want as much as possible for districts to cross natural boundaries such as rivers, highways, railways, things like that. Second, and probably most importantly, is that the districts need to contain as near as possible equal population. Now, the Supreme Court has said that a deviation of 10% is constitutional. However, as you will see in these guidelines, we are actually endeavoring to be below 5% deviation. And what that means is, based on the census data, I believe each district, the ideal size would be around 90,000 citizens. And so when you add up the deviations from the proposed districts, the idea is to keep that under 5%. Thirdly, the districts cannot cross precinct lines, which is obviously important for the conducting of elections and efficiency. And then there are other criteria that we've put in here. For example, contiguity. We don't want the districts to be in pieces and have them as contiguous as possible. Next, protecting communities of interest, protecting neighborhoods, things like that, and keeping them in single districts are ideal. And so, the redistricting guidelines discuss all of this, discuss the procedures by which the public can participate. And a brief timeline, obviously today we are proposing that you adopt the redistricting resolution. And October 15th, the members of the public shall have an opportunity, this is the deadline, to submit objections to this redistricting plan as they see fit. October 29th by noon, the public can submit their own plans. November 9th, we will hold a public hearing here where the public plans as well as the plan put forth by the redistricting coordinator will be considered, at which point the commissioners will vote on a preliminary resolution to adopt a districting plan. The next week, November 16th, there will be a second public meeting for purposes of adopting the resolution the second time. And then following that, on December 5th, the certified copy of the resolution should be filed with the auditor. So that's basically the nuts and bolts of how this process works, and happy to entertain any questions.
Mr. Woods, did our speaker state his address for the record?
He did not. Mr. Knowlton, what is the address of your
Sure.
law firm?
I apologize, Counselor. 111 Monument Circle, Suite 900, Indianapolis, Indiana, 46204.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments from the board?
No.
Not for me, yeah.
Hearing none.
Well, other than I just
Mr.
want to thank him for speaking. Thank you so much for coming. I appreciate that.
Happy to. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Mr. Woods, anything else we need to cover before we take formal action?
No, I think the openness and thoroughness of the process has been explained very well by Mr. Knowlton, and if there's a motion to approve resolution number R26C 2021, it'd be appropriate this time.
Does that motion exist?
That's the motion. I approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for the approval of resolution number R26C 2021. Commissioner Dieter, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Fleming, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Castelny, how do you vote?
Aye.
The motion is approved unanimously.
Thank you all. I look forward to this, to the results of this action that we're taking. Moving on to human resources, request approval of a renewal of the organ and tissue transplant policy and HCC Life with HCC Life Insurance.
Good morning, Kim Karkowitz, Human Resource Director, St. Joseph County, offices on the 7th floor of this building. The request for the approval of the renewal of the organ and tissue transplant policy is one that we do annually as we start getting ready for open enrollment. With this policy, just like our stop-loss carrier, it helps the plan when we're looking at high dollar claims to help out. With that, our broker has brought this to us for us to renew, and with the documents that you were provided, it did state some concerns if we went back out for bid on this. So Robert Frick should be online too in case you have any questions for broker.
I don't see Bob, I see Peter, Jay, but are there any questions or comments from the board related to this? Is there a motion?
A motion for the renewal of the organ and tissue transplant policy.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Commissioner Dieter, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Fleming, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Castelny, how do you vote?
Aye.
The request for approval of renewal of the organ and tissue transplant policy with HCC Life is approved unanimously.
Next, request approval of an adoption agreement for eligible governmental 457 plans with Hoosier Start and Nationwide.
So these are two separate contracts, but if you guys wanted to vote on them together, the 457 plans are what is currently offered to county employees for them to be able to put money aside for retirement in a tax-deferred plan. Both of these plans now offer a Roth option. This was a request from employees to look at the county bringing this option on also. The Roth option would just be this adoption of this agreement to add that. There is no other cost associated with adding this option to the county.
So Counselor, are you comfortable with us taking action on both of these items, or should they be split out?
I think that you can vote on both these items at the same time, and that's how they're set forth in the agenda. I'm comfortable with that.
Okay. Any questions or comments? Is there a motion?
A motion to approve these, both of these two things here.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second to approve the agreements with Hoosier Start and Nationwide. Commissioner Dieter, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Fleming, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Castelny, how do you vote?
Aye.
The agreements are approved by a vote of 3-0.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to the infrastructure planning and growth. First item is the consent agenda. I'm not able to see the entirety of the consent agenda. It appears as though there's an irrevocable letter of credit for the Inverness Woods Section 1.
Yes.
Is there anything else on the consent agenda besides that?
No, just that.
Just that.
Okay. Any questions or comments? Is there a motion?
A motion to approve this consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Mr. Dieter, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Fleming, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Castelny, how do you vote?
Aye.
Consent agenda is approved by a vote of 3-0.
Next, we move on to request approval of SJRDC 92001C1820 IEC broadband expansion change order number 1.
Sky Matters, Department of Infrastructure Planning and Growth, offices on the 7th and 11th floor of this building. What you have before you today is change order number 1 for the initial broadband expansion project that we have been working on for the past several months. This change order was for to address some items that were unforeseen items of existing underground conduits that needed to be repaired to get the project to near completion. The contractor was able to do that for us, and that change order is in the amount of $22,279.75, an increase of about 1.27%. We recommend that you approve these changes. Thank you.
Sky, should someone have known about these items before, or what's the story?
It was for conduit that was existing and underground, so there was no way that the contractor would have been able to know what those issues were.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from the board?
Yeah, I've got one. On the second page, shouldn't you have added up the increase, because you have this at the bottom on page 2, or the second page of this, the net total is the same as the original. You didn't put in the revised amount. Is that just an error?
I'm wondering if the wrong sheet got printed out there. I will check that. But yeah, what you see on the front page is the letter page is correct, but yes, those should correspond to what you see on the first page. So I'll check. I'm wondering if the wrong page got printed out and attached.
So that the second page, you need to fix that?
Yes.
Do we need?
You can
This
still act on the change order. It doesn't change the numbers.
Right.
I just want to make sure everything's documented correctly, because
Yeah.
that sticks out.
Yeah, 'cause-
What you should do then is the motion should be to approve the change order number 1 with the correct page being inserted. So you can just make that motion. You will take care of that, right, Scott?
Yeah. Yep, I'll get that done right after this meeting.
Okay.
There are no more questions or comments. Does that motion exist?
The motion does exist to
I'll s-
approve the broadband expansion change order number 1.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Commissioner Dieter, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Fleming, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Castelny, how do you vote?
Aye.
The change order is approved by a vote of 3-0.
Thank you.
Next, request approval of a construction engineering services agreement for the Auton Trail, Laurel Road to State Road 933, description number 1400638.
What this is a contract for construction engineering with the Troyer Group. This is for our federally aided project for the trail on Auton Road from 933 to Laurel. That has been an ongoing project for several years. The current plan is to let this project for construction next month, with construction most likely occurring beginning next year. And it is for not to exceed amount of $103,025, which will be an 80% reimbursable, 80-20 split with federal aid through the federal aid program. And we recommend your approval.
Any questions or comments?
Yeah, could you explain where that's going to start?
That trail will start at 933 and then extend west to Laurel Road.
Is it starting at where the bike trail currently is, or?
It will start at where the sidewalk is, right next to the pharmacy on north of Auton,
Okay.
and then we'll extend all the way to Laurel. There'll still be a section that needs to be looked at to connect that to the trail that was just recently constructed near Healthwind. But there's a small section there that needs to be completed that will connect that trail system.
Is that, I would assume that it's getting people to St. Patrick's Park?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
And then this will be a 10-foot wide, do you know?
It will be, I believe it is 10 foot, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have no further questions at this time.
Any other questions or comments? Is there a motion?
It's a motion to approve the construction engineering services agreement with the Troyer Group.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Commissioner Dieter, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Fleming, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Castelny, how do you vote?
Aye.
The agreement's approved by a vote of 3-0.
And then when there's a grand opening, let us know, because I think the commissioners would like to be the first people on that, either bike or walking.
We can do that.
Thank you, sir.
It's been there in the past.
We can break out the tandem bikes that we used.
No, I'll be by
10 or
myself.
so.
I'm fine, thank you.
10 years ago. It was great. All right. Next, request approval of an engineering services proposal for a county stormwater district study.
Yeah, this item is for an agreement between the county and Christopher Burke Engineering to conduct the stormwater district study that was approved for American Rescue Plan funding by the council. This work to be performed is not to exceed $75,000. I've reviewed the proposal and agreement and recommend your approval.
Any questions or comments? Is there a motion?
Good, how are you? So, are those just for the,
I'm sorry, again. All right.
Is there a motion?
Yeah, there's a motion to approve the Christopher B. Burke Engineering to prepare the stormwater district study for the county.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Commissioner Dieter,
Aye.
how do you vote? I'm sorry.
Aye.
Aye.
That's right.
Commissioner Fleming, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Castelny, how do you vote?
Aye.
The agreement's approved by a vote of 3-0.
All right, moving on to old business.
Thank
No
you.
action is being taken. Public comments. Are there any public comments? If so, you've got 3 minutes to address the board.
There are none in the room, Mr. Castelny.
All right, hearing and seeing none. Is there a motion to recess?
So moved.
Second.
Counselor, is
We
this
have
a
a
roll?
motion to recess. Commissioner Dieter, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Fleming, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Castelny, how do you vote?
Aye.
We are recessed.
Thank you all. Have good days.
You too. Best